It looks like we have most of the council members on the line, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kathleen Drew, Chair of the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, and this is the public hearing on the request to amend the Grays Harbor Site Certification Agreement in accordance with Washington Administrative Code 463-66-030. I will ask Ms. Mastro to call the roll for the council and for the staff so we know who is here at this point.
Thank you, Chair Drew. Department of Commerce?
Kate Kelly's present. I'm on the phone.
Department of Ecology?
Rob Dingle, present.
Department of Fish and Wildlife?
Mike Livingston, present.
Department of Natural Resources? Utilities?
I was going to say that Mr. Siemens is excused. He won't be able to make it.
Utilities and Transportation Commission?
I did see her on.
Ms. Brewster, Utilities and Transportation Commission?
I see her on with their mic muted.
Assistant Attorney General for EFSEC?
Yes, this is John Thompson. I am on the call.
Thank you. Council staff is Sonia Bumpus?
This is Sonia Bumpus.
Amy Kidder?
Amy Kidder here.
Kyle Overton?
Present.
Joan Owens?
Present.
Patty Betts?
Present.
And myself, Tammy Mastro. Thank you, Chair Drew.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to talk about what the process will be tonight. The certificate holder will give a presentation on the amendment request, after which we will open the floor for public comment. We will be meeting this evening until 6:00 p.m. or until the last speaker has commented, whichever comes first. Our comment database is open until midnight tonight if anyone wants to provide a comment in writing. That is available at www.comments.efsec.wa.gov. We will ask that speakers try to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak should put their name in the Skype chat window if they are joining us via computer. Anyone wishing to speak who has joined us by phone will be asked to speak after we have completed the list of speakers who have signed up ahead of time or in chat. With that, I would ask the certificate holder to start the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew. Can you hear me? Just double check.
I can, thank you.
All right. Again, good afternoon, Chair Drew, EFSEC Council, staff, and public. As Chair Drew mentioned, today we have a brief presentation for the Council, staff, and public on our application to amend Site Certification Agreement number 5 and our Prevention of Significant Deterioration, or PSD, Amendment number 4 to facilitate upgrading our combustion turbines. I'm Chris Sharon, Plant Manager, Grays Harbor Energy Center. Next slide, please. Just give a brief introduction, an overview of Grays Harbor Energy Center. We'll discuss the current Northwest Power Pool market dynamics, and we'll cover the site certification and PSD permit requests. Next slide, please. Also on the call, with Invenergy today would be Eric Pace, Plant Engineer, Sarah DeGroot, Asset Management, Mackenzie Evans, Asset Management, Phil Mackey, and Frank Sardui of South Shore Environmental, and Karen McGaffey of Perkins Coie. Slide, please. Grace Harbor Energy LLC is a subsidiary of Invenergy, which is the world's leading privately held sustainable energy company with more than 100 natural gas, wind, solar, and storage facilities. EFSEC first permitted the natural gas power plant at the Satsop site in 1976 under site certification or agreement amendment number 2 on 22 acres formerly part of the Washington Nuclear Project number 3 and 5, or WHOOPS 3 and 5 site. Duke Energy North America commenced construction of the facility in 2001 and subsequently ceased construction in 2003. Invenergy acquired the project in 2005 and resumed construction in 2007. We completed construction in 2008 with the COD of July 1st that year and have been operating the facility ever since. Our Energy Center is a 650 megawatt gross rated capacity 2x1 combined cycle natural gas power generation facility located near Elma, Washington. The 2-in-1 combined cycle unit is composed of 2 General Electric or GE 7FA.03 combustion turbine generators coupled with onboard heat steam generators and a GE D11 steam turbine generator. In 2011, the Council amended our site certification agreement, amendment number 5, to authorize the construction of 2 more units, units 3 and 4, to double the size of the facility. This expansion has not yet been built. Grace Harbor Energy Center is one of the most efficient natural gas facilities in the region, and as such has been operating with greater frequency as peak demand in the region has increased. We've always had a good working relationship with EFSEC and its staff, and we're pleased to be here today to talk about what we think is a pretty simple request to amend the site certification agreement and modify our PSD permits so that we can install the latest GE equipment to the facility, specifically our gas turbines. At this point, I'd like to have the presentation over to Mackenzie Evans with our asset management team. She'll cover the advanced gas path upgrade, or AGP, and our permit amendments.
Thanks, Chris. Next slide, please. So as Chris mentioned, Grace Harbor Energy Center has been supplying power to Northwest Power Pool since 2008. So framing today's conversation, we think it's important to understand the changing market dynamics in the Northwest Power Pool. So as you can see in the chart on this slide, the projected coal and hydro retirements are expected to be over 4.4 gigawatts in the next decade. And the last known retirement at this time is coal strip units 3 and 4, noted as 2027 on the chart. So additionally, throughout this time period, peak demand is expected to increase by 0.5% annually. And together, these market forces combine and contribute to tightening reserve margins and subsequently a projected increase in Grace Harbor's operating hours, as Grace Harbor, as Chris mentioned, is already one of the Northwest Power Pool's most efficient gas-fired power plants. And the last thing we like to note on this slide is just that, we do provide that flexible gas power that helps with the increasing integration of intermittent renewable resources. Next slide, please. So now that you have a little bit more background on Grace Harbor and its role in the Northwest Power Pool, we are here today outlining the objectives of our recently submitted SCA and PSD amendments. So the objectives are twofold. First is the installation of GE's Advanced Gas Path Package, or AGP, and second is the extension of the construction deadline for units 3 and 4. So specifically, we submitted the following 4 supporting materials. First, we have the letter requesting the amendment. This, discusses the council's regulations concerning amendments and explains how our request satisfies each of those regulations. Next is the SEPA checklist. This explains why our requested amendment is not expected to have any significant environmental impacts. Next is the red line of the SCA itself. This shows the specific parts of the SCA that we have asked the council to amend. And lastly, we have the PSD minor modification application, which is the detailed air permitting material. And we do want to emphasize again that we are not, we're not asking for any change in the PSD permit limits, but because the equipment would change, we do need a minor modification of the PSD permit. And so this application, goes through all the regulatory issues in detail and has all the technical information for, EFSEC and ecology to review. Next slide, please. So the first objective of the amendments, as I've mentioned, is the installation of GE's Advanced Gas Path Package, or AGP, into both of our existing units. So the AGP upgrade involves an upgrade to the turbine's software and hardware with more robust parts that are manufactured from enhanced materials that provide increased reliability. So to provide some context here, if you look at the picture on the slide, the air comes in on the left side in the inlet. It's compressed in the compressor section, and then the gas is combusted and goes through the turbine section to generate the power. So the parts that we are talking about and looking at replacing here is what's known as the hot gas path section, which is just after the combustion section. So these parts do see the highest temperatures. And also, these hot gas path parts, they do get swapped out every 24,000 operating hours, no matter what. So just want to make it clear that we would not be adding any additional hardware to the units that wasn't there before, but rather upgrading the existing hardware with more robust parts. So by swapping out the existing parts for AGP components, the turbines are able to produce more output at an increased firing temperature, which improves the overall efficiency. So at the same load point, the turbines will produce 6.2 megawatts each over their previously permitted levels and will do so more efficiently. Next slide, please. Diving in a little bit more about the upgrade. This is an upgrade that GE does all the time. This technology has been around for several years. It is one of GE's most common upgrades, and there are other generators in the region who have already upgraded their units to this technology. The upgrade is entirely interior to the gas turbines, meaning that there's no change to the turbine's footprint, and we are not requesting any change to the limits in the existing air and water permits. Actually, the greenhouse gas emission rate improves with the increased efficiency from AGP. So specifically, the CO2 emissions for every megawatt hour produced by the facility will decrease by approximately 2.3%. In terms of timing for the upgrade, installation is planned for spring of 2021 as a part of the facility's regularly scheduled annual maintenance outage. So with the units already on outage, no additional downtime is required for installation. And kind of walking that back, in order to meet this timeline, we did submit the materials in August. We spoke with the council in September, and we are needing to get approval to order equipment before the end of the year. So we're ready to go next spring. Next slide, please. So to close the loop on the AGP piece of it, the chart on this slide details Grays Harbor's projected operations through 2029. And we wanted to show this to be clear that the demand for natural gas-fired power is going to increase over the next several years with the retirements mentioned earlier. So we do expect the plant to run more often, even if the equipment is not changed. We think that the modest increase in capacity from AGP means that we can provide a bit more power to help meet this increasing demand, coupled with the retirements, of course. So the improvement in efficiency also means the facility may run a little bit more often because, as we know, gas generation in the region is dispatched based on efficiency. So of course, if Grays Harbor Energy Center is running instead of less efficient generation, it means that less gas is consumed and fewer greenhouse gases are emitted overall in order to meet regional load. Next slide, please. So the second objective of the amendments, moving on, is the extension of the construction deadlines for units 3 and 4. The council and the governor have already approved the addition of 2 more combustion turbine units at the facility, and the SCA currently requires construction of those units to begin by February of 2021. So to date, market conditions have not necessitated the need for units 3 and 4. We would like to extend the construction deadline to 2028, which we think better lines up with the need for generation in the region that will result from the retirements discussed earlier. And, specifically, kind of like I pointed out earlier, the largest coal retirement is expected to occur in 2027 with coal strip units 3 and 4, and that would be a loss of 1,480 megawatts of power generation in the region. So on top of that, like we mentioned, we do anticipate annual demand growth to be about 0.5% each year over the next 10 years. So it takes about 2 years to construct a power plant, so we have to start by 2030. So, just to reiterate here, in the latter half of the decade, if it seems like there is a need for additional capacity, we would like to maintain the ability to help meet the regional need. And the SCA already requires us to make detailed filings about the environmental requirements in effect at the time we propose to initiate construction, and it does require us to get the council's approval before we begin. So these requirements would continue to be in effect, and the council would have a chance to look at all of these issues in detail before authorizing construction to proceed at that time. That brings us to the end here, and on behalf of the team, we do appreciate your time and the public hearing on the schedule today. And with that said, I guess you can open up for questions.
I do think that we saw most of this presentation at the meeting. I think I would like to ask Ms. Owens if we have people who are signed up to speak at this point in time.
Chair Drew, we do not currently have anybody signed up to speak.
So council members, do you have additional questions?
This is Stacy Brewster.
Go ahead.
Hi. So I just want to double check on the last statement about the ability to construct units 3 and 4. That is, if it is necessary, is that I'm hearing it's not imminent. It is based on market. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Chair Drew, this is Kate Kelly.
Go ahead.
To kind of follow up on Ms. Brewster's question, why did you pick 7 years to apply for an extension for? Does that have circle back to the coal retirements, or it's not an even number?
Sure, yeah, I think that's a good question. We did think it made sense when looking at the expected coal retirements, with that last one being planned for 2027, like I mentioned. That's, I think, the largest one on the schedule as well. So 2028 kind of arose from that, and then we do know that power demand is expected to increase annually over the next 10 years. So kind of like I said, it takes about 2 years to construct a power plant. So we would, that's kind of how we backed into 2028, if that makes sense. I think I can speak for the team here. I'm not sure we're married to that, if that's causing, some questions.
Thank you. So at this point, since we do not have anyone signed up to testify, I think that what I'd like to do is to take a 30-minute recess to give people an opportunity to participate if they do come in and haven't been in the meeting so far. And Ms. Mastro, will you put in the chat the address for those comments in case we do have someone who is looking for that?
Absolutely.
And again, the written comments are open through midnight tonight. So council members, if you want to just allow your Skype to be on so you can hear if we do have anyone come in. And then if we don't have anyone, we will, I will adjourn the hearing in 30 minutes. Okay? Thank you.
Kathleen, you're muted still.
Oh, thank you. Okay, this is Kathleen Drew, Chair of the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, calling our meeting on our public hearing on the Grays Harbor Energy Center amendment back into order. I would like, first of all, to ask for the name of our court reporter. If you can put your name into the chat, that would be terrific so we can have it for our records. And secondly, is there anyone on the line or in the Skype meeting who would like to make a comment on this amendment? Since I do not hear anyone saying that they would like to speak, let the record show that in the public notice, we announced the opportunity for members of the public to sign up to provide comments starting at 4 o'clock. It is currently 4:53 p.m. and we have heard from everyone, which is not anyone, who signed up to comment. So we will close the hearing we have had nobody who has commented, so we will close the hearing at this time. Thank you very much for your participation. For all of you who came to present and to council members. This meeting is closed.